Hello and welcome to Chess Book Reviews 85. I have 5 books here to show you briefly. Some of these I've read before, but all of them are very worthwhile and all of them are by the same author. I've deliberately done this to group them together. They're all from the same publisher as well. He writes for other people as well, I would think, on occasion. Everyman Chess, anyway, here you are. This is the first of the 5. And it's a book about Kelly Sicilian. Kelly was Belgium, but he did come to England a fair bit in the 1950s and 60s. And he last came when he played in the BBC Two Master game. I don't think there's a copy of the recording, whereas somebody accused him of playing drafts against Tony Miles. He wasn't playing drafts against Tony Miles. Anyway, this is Andrew's book. It's for me the O'Kelly variation, 1 E4 C5, the Sicilian, of course. 2 knight F3 A6 is one of the last great, relatively unexplored variations of the Sicilian. As usual, I'll have to wobble about and see if you can see that, but I think you can. Yes. This is Andrew's introduction. This book, in case you was published last year. I think it's rather good. It certainly is the most detailed book ever written about the O'Kelly. Here's a list of the complete games. And once again, as you can see, he does not stint us for properly annotated games, Andrew. There we are. How about that? I'm not going to sit here and count them all, but there's a lot. 3 pages. 3 pages. A couple of games by Karpov. Well against Taimanov. I think he lost that. Yes. Spassky playing it against Krogius, as people like to call him. Jonathan Penrose playing against William Weaver Adams, a bicarbonate of soda addict and one-time friend of Al Capone. The game was played Hastings 50-51. I think that's where he fell out with good humour with Leonard Barden, but I might be wrong. This is if you're good on transpositions, if you like open and closed games in a mixture. This is the sort of thing you might end up with. Queen on. Some exchanges are taking place. And the queen on F3. There we are. It says it's a complete repertoire. All key variations analysed in detail. Yes, I'm sure they are. Andrew has been IM now for nearly 40 years. So there we are. I'm still writing away. The next book is in the First Steps series. Don't let that put you off. There's stuff for all range of players. Caro-Kann arises after the move 1 E4 C6. Well, that you knew, but what you don't know is when it was published. There you go. Let's have a look. It was published in 2018. And it says Andrew Martin is a FIDE senior trainer and international master. Is currently head of newly formed ECF Academy. Not certain how that got on or whether it still exists. Please forgive me, but I don't know. But whether it is or whether it isn't, I'll bet Andrew got his back into it. Here's a position from the G takes F6, 5 G takes F6 Caro-Kann. There. And it's Yassir playing against Gipslis. Sirouan no longer plays at the top level, but he does commentate. It was an interesting game. I remember it at the time. Torre versus Korchnoi. Korchnoi just come from the World Championship match, which he lost there at the bottom. And Baguio City. And he headed all the way across the world and played a lovely game against Torre with the E-Tex F6 Caracan, which has just come back into some fashionable fashion. Here we are in good company with the advanced variation. So what I would say about this is it covers all the variations you're likely to meet, whereas with the Kelly Sicilian, it's rather more selective. So there we are. Now here's another one, slightly larger, King's Indian Defence. Andrew has written 2 or 3 other books on the King's Indian, and I've got them all. I don't trouble you with them now. Very many games by Andrew here from various eras, right back to playing George Botterill at Charlton, and John Nunn, and Mestel, and John Fedorowicz, and so it goes on. Game of Hebdens. So let's have a quick look at what the contents list. Inspiration, pawn structure, classical system, fianchetto variation. Well, you know what that is. Lies with bishop g5, same-ish, lies with f3, 4-pawn attack, that's with all white pushing out C, D, E, and F pawns. Less common white systems and some byways, so that's some unusual stuff. And there's an index of variations and then of complete games. And the index of variations is done using diagrams themselves, which is rather nice. I always like that. So there we are. Not all authors would bother. Not all publishers would wave it through, but there you are. So you can see the moves, but you can also see the diagrams. So it's perhaps help you remember a little bit, or perhaps you just are more visual in your thinking. It's rather amusing that this is a first steps book, because some of this is quite technical. And it needs to be. I mean, Andrew is not. We have reached the end of this book, and I thank you for reading. I set out to introduce you to the King's Indian and enthuse you, and hope I've succeeded. Andrew has written several books on the King's Indian, as I just said. I think I just said that, didn't I? It's nice to see games of his, which I remember at the time. There we are. There's the 4-pawn attack. Let me show you that. You can see the way is. Oh no, it's actually the 3-pawn attack. That's white's 3 pawns. Black has speared him in the side with a well-timed b5 there. See? Sorry, I misled you. I thought it was 4 pawns. It's not. One of them must have been exchanged off. This book has lots of pages, and it is. I suppose it must go up to 300. 335. That is a lot of pages. And the book is $17.99. It first came out. The price may vary, but there we are. Now here are the barrier attack. The barrier attack with bishop f4 and knight c3 and d4. Game between Collet and Irva, 1928. Irva hadn't quite dragged himself up to the standard of the World Championship Somebody had said to him, "Excuse me, Mr. Over, 1928, you're going to play 2 matches against Alekhine." I think he would have said, "On your bike." Here is Capablanca playing F.D. Yeats at New York, 1924. Not an event which Yeats is likely to forget in a hurry. There we are. And here we are, Tartakova playing Waltuck. I'm sorry, I can't really pronounce that any too well. From London, 1922. I helped with a retrospective of London 1922 in BCM. So if you want to look that up, it's about a year ago, I think. So you can get some background. Now, what came through the post to my great excitement yesterday was this, which has inspired all those other ones. So that was 4. But this has just come out, and you may not have seen it yet. This is about the French defence, but it's like the French defence in one aspect, and that is that the D pawn, black's D pawn, takes white's E pawn in the centre. And I mean, you could play bishop E3 and play F3 and offer it as a gambit, but I don't think Andrew would exactly endorse that. It can be done. It can be done. Lots about the Rubinstein, and then the Fort Knox, which is where the bishop goes to D7 and then to C6, and some exchanges, not always take place. He talks about also lines in the Rubinstein with 4 bishop E7 and 4 knight F6 again. Some exchanges take place, and then after that, white has advantage in space, but not necessarily the strongest of initiatives. Yeah, never mind my wittering on. Have a look at that, and it will give you some skeleton positions, and here too. See, clever, eh? Clever. It's a question of knowing when and what to exchange and what to aim for, and as black, not being too ambitious, but don't fall asleep. And don't get mated on the king side. And don't play B6 at the wrong moment, so queen E4, which hits on H7, also hits the rook on A8. Ooh, how many people have lost to that, particularly in blitz games? Here is Fort Knox coming to its genesis with the bishop on D7, waiting to go to C6. I quite recommend that. We can't live a whole life playing that sort of system, but once in a while, if you're feeling a bit, why not play it? Why not indeed? There's a game with Daniel Fernandez, Britain's newest grandmaster. Okay. So let's go, and it's always a treat. Let's have a look at the index. He also throws in some stuff, but possibly could be considered unnecessary, about the exchange variation, the advanced variation, and some rare lines. Probably, yes. Flank system with E5, and then when black replies with an early C5, you play B4, maybe A3 as well. Yes, well, lots and lots in the index. Game by Robert Bellin. Again by John Shaw. Nigel Short. And we expect to see Nigel on the black side of the French defence, but here on the white side. Game by Topalov, the Bulgarian Grandmaster, seems to have disappeared from the game, against Vahanyan. The book has, let's get this, 367 pages, and they've kept the price still below £20. So I would call that pretty interesting. Detailed look as a sideline, but nevertheless detailed is the word. There we go. Please like and subscribe. I forget to say that, don't I? Please like and subscribe and help us keep going. There's a little chinwag, as I like to call them. Thank you for your time. Signing off now. Goodbye.